Teamwork isn't just nice to have in business, it's the undisputed competitive advantage. When your team members work as a unified force, your whole operation benefits through higher productivity, thriving creativity, and unstoppable momentum. Welcome to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast, where we share with you strategies and tactics to help you develop game-changing teams so that you and your business can make a real difference in the world. So welcome back to another episode of Impactful Teamwork. Super excited to have you here again this week. And if you're a new listener, and especially a big welcome to you. On Impactful Teamwork, we discuss everything teamwork, and I am your host and guide, Julia Felton, and I will be with you for about the next 20 minutes while we look today at the topic of how to invest in your team. I think we can all agree that business success comes from working in teams, and the result of teamwork, as I always talk about, teamwork is a superpower that so often is unrecognized and untapped in businesses. But for me, teamwork is definitely the result of 1 + 1 = 3. We can achieve so much more with a team. But that means that as business leaders, we need to invest in that team. We need to help them grow and nurture in order to be the best that they can be. So on today's episode, I really wanted to share with you ways that you can invest in your team, and 10 things that I would really encourage you to be doing to help the team improve. Because I think what we create is a kind of compound interest. If we make every person in the team 1% better, the compounded performance of the team is more than 1% times the 10 person in the team. So there's a multiplier effect from investing in your team members. So I thought this would be really appropriate to do today. Let's invest in our team and make sure that they can be the best that they can be. So when we're thinking about growing our team and developing our team, I think the first thing is it starts with a decision. It starts with a decision that we are prepared to build the team and invest in the team. And that requires a commitment. It requires a commitment from us both financially, in terms of our time, in terms of coaching and mentoring, also emotionally and often energetically as well. So there is a commitment. We do need to make a decision about whether we're going to invest in training and development for our team. And when I'm talking to a lot of companies about team development, I think this is perhaps one of the biggest hurdles for sometimes people to get over. It's like they know that they should, but actually getting around and doing it and actually making the decision, and more importantly, the commitment, is the biggest block for people. And I think obviously sometimes that comes down to being really concerned about whether there'll be a return on investment. And that's obviously something that we want to look at, and something I'm going to be discussing as well today is how do we ensure we get a return on investment for every dollar or pound that we invest in our team? Because as business leaders, we don't have access to an infinite source of money to invest in our team. And I really want you to be very clear as well about the language I'm using here. I discuss team development as an investment. I don't see this as a cost. I do believe that you're going to get a return on investment for all of the money that you put into this. And if you're not, then you perhaps need to be looking at your provider or the solution that you're using to see if that's the best fit for your team. But this definitely is an investment. There will be a return to you and the business if you decide to do it. But as I said, it involves commitment, time, energy, resources in order to make it happen. It doesn't just happen overnight. We need to think very strategically and tactically about what type of investment we want to do within the team, and how is that a team event? Is that an individual one-on-one development? What is this? And we need to be very clear about what we're putting together and the plan for developing the team. The second thing I think we really need to be clear about is thinking about the people on the team, and have we got the right people on the team? You want to have a team that you've got the best players on in that moment. And we have spoken on a lot of other podcasts about the importance of having the right people on the team doing the right roles. And I think once we've identified who those people are, then it is supporting them and sticking with them through thick and thin. And yes, there will be times when perhaps we need to release a team member for poor performance, for a change in attitude. I don't know what it's going to be for you, but it could be a number of different things. But just be really clear on how can we gather the best people together. And I think sometimes as a business leader, one of the challenges can be, and I'll freely admit that this happened to me when I was running my team in corporate, is that sometimes we are afraid of recruiting people who we believe are better than us. And I know that when I was recruiting in the corporate world, there were a few CVs that I thought people were so overqualified and they were so amazing. It was my own insecurity that stopped me hiring them. And actually, on hindsight nowadays, I realize what an amazing asset they would have been to my team. And actually, as a business leader, I think the greatest thing we can do is hire people better than ourselves. Not only does it elevate our own performance, but it elevates that of the team as well. So really get clear on who do you want on your team and who is the best fit. When we're investing in our team, we also need to, as I said, think about what is the price we need to pay to develop the team. Because it is going to cost us, not, as I said, not only financially, but emotionally and energetically to develop the team. When I'm working with teams, I spend a lot of time doing team coaching, team mentoring. That I love to do, but it can be quite draining. It can sap your energy, holding the space and creating the environment, which is really important for these team members to develop. And sometimes when we're developing our team members, it might mean that we have to set aside our own personal agendas for the betterment of the team. Another way that we can invest in our team, and I think this is crucial right now more than ever, is do things together as a team. Remember the acronym for team. Together, everyone achieves more. We need to create this community spirit within the team. Because even when you've played the game of your life, you've created the best business project, you've been on the best sports team, whatever it might be, it's the feeling of teamwork that you'll remember. And I certainly know that I just love working in teams. I feel more engaged, more motivated when I'm in a team and doing things with other people. So it's really important that we create that kind of community feel within our team. And the way we do that is by building cohesiveness and connection throughout the team. So this means that we need to spend time to get to know about our team members. I think it's really interesting that we live in a world that is hyper-connected. And we have all these virtual friends on Facebook or LinkedIn. But actually, it is belief that people are more disconnected from other. We're disconnected from ourselves and we're disconnected from the people around us. So building a community and creating that cohesive team spirit is so important. And this is why I'm a massive advocate of bringing team members together. Because in the virtual world in which we live, we have so many team members working remotely, team members that have never even met each other in person. And while the advent of online Zoom, Teams calls, whatever it might be, has helped build connection. We can actually see people nowadays rather than just being on a phone. It's not the same as seeing people and being with people in person, being able to, I want to use the word touch in inverted commas, be with people, press the flesh, see people. There's something magical about that for me. And with a number of my clients, we've really been talking about the importance of getting all of the team together and creating these reset days where we can reset, reimagine, and redeploy what teamwork looks like. Get to know everybody on your team. Get to know who they are, what their likes and dislikes are, what their strengths are, And what are their areas for development? Where do they need some more help and support? And I really love to do this collectively because there's so much that when we understand more about a team member, that can really ease the friction in working together. So when I run a number of my impactful teamwork workshops, where we often work with a tool called the GC Index, which you have heard me speak about previously, this tool helps teams have a language, a shared language about how and what impact for energy each person makes within the team. So if you understand that Joe blogs in sales, where their zone of genius is outselling, is being with clients. What they don't really love to do, for example, is pull together each month their statistics on what's happening and provide that to the data people who need to analyze that. You have some degree of empathy about why Joe Bloggs finds that process so difficult to do. It's not his zone of genius. It's something that drains his energy. He doesn't want to do it. And so therefore you have a better understanding about why you find it so difficult to get that information from him. And armed with knowing that, it enables us to go to Joe Bloggs in this particular case and help them find some strategies in order to facilitate the ease of the information and the data you need from them. So having this shared language does definitely create a much more cohesive team and a team that really understands and empathizes with each other a lot more. So this for me is the importance of team development, getting everyone together, getting to know everybody within the team, within a shared experience. And I think also that shared experience then is something that people take back to the workplace. I know when I run my unbridled success days with the horses and I create and curate a number of experiences for teams to work with horses. When people go back to the workplace, this has always amazed me initially, was how they keep sharing and referencing back to the experiences with the horses when they're back in the workplace. So I was working with a CEO once and he came with his team and there was a horse at the end of the arena called Cafe. And I said to the MD and the team, I said, we're going to go out and catch Cafe. And I gave them a halter to do that with. And immediately the MD just walked off with no equipment, no halter or anything to go and catch the horse. He didn't discuss it with his team. He just went and did his own thing. And as we debriefed this, the team said that's what he does all the time. He comes up with these ideas and just goes off and goes rogue and does his own thing and doesn't tell anybody what he's doing. So we can't help and support him. Now, when they're back in the office, they say to this gentleman, Steve, you're having a cafe moment. And immediately he drops back into that experience of him walking away with no equipment to catch the horse and not communicating with his team. It's a way that they're able to give feedback to each other on what's happening within the team without it feeling like any type of judgment or criticism. We're just referencing back to an experience that we all had together and what happened. And in that moment, Steve stops in his tracks and goes, oh, yeah, okay, I need to rewind, go and explain to the team what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then move forward. This is the power of community and creating cohesiveness within the team. The other way that we can invest in our team members is also by giving them more responsibility and authority. I think people never know how good they are until we give them the opportunity. And I know that pretty much every time I have stretched my team members, taken them out of their comfort zone, asked them to do something different, I've always been amazed by the results. And that's twofold. The results in that something gets done, maybe it even takes something off my desk, right? And I'm able to give a task that I was doing all the time to somebody else to help them grow and develop. But also to see the satisfaction and the achievement from somebody when they've achieved something they didn't think they could do. So it is about gently nudging people out of their comfort zone into what we call the learning zone so that they can achieve more. And this is, for me, is really the only way you can empower team members, is to trust that they're going to do the best job that they can and then reward them when they do an incredible job, because 9 times out of 10, that will happen. And recently I was actually working at the races. I run a restaurant at different race courses on race days, and that's my way to go and practice leadership and make sure I keep my hand in and working with teams. And there was one particular gentleman, and he was very enthusiastic, but he had no experience. He'd never worked in a restaurant and a catering field before. And so on the first day that he worked for me, he had a relatively straightforward job, just handing out drinks as people came into the restaurant. But there was something I saw in him about his level of commitment, enthusiasm, just wanting to do more, that I took a risk. And the second day, I put him with one of my more experienced team members and got him to work on the table serving guests. This gentleman proved to be amazing. His attention to detail, his interaction with the guests has just been amazing. And this is somebody who didn't believe he could do it. He was like, and I was like, no, I really think you can. And so I created an environment that for him to feel supported in moving into that new role. And actually, he absolutely smashed it and has been incredible. And the feedback from the guests was just testament to the fact that he could do a great job. So that leads into the sixth thing that we need to think about when we're investing in our team, which is about giving credit to people who do a great job, and because that lifts the morale of the team. So in this particular instance, this young lad called Joe, the guests were writing on comment forms how amazing he was. And I just watched him grow and flourish, and yeah, just beaming from ear to ear about the feedback he was getting from the guests. And just to summarize this, I just wanted to share a quote from Mark Twain, which says, "I can live for 2 months on one good compliment." And my invitation to you as a leader is to think about how often are you complimenting and rewarding your team, thanking them for a job well done, giving them really positive feedback on things that have happened, because compliments go a long way. And I just know from experience that whenever I do spend time, and I'm really good, I think, at giving compliments and thanking my team members, people want to come back. They want to work for you. They want to continue to grow and develop with you. And in the environment that I work, where I work with a lot of casual workers that they come in on a freelance basis, the number of people that come up to me and say, "Julia, I want to be part of your team today," is really heartwarming for me. But I know that they're doing it because they feel acknowledged and recognized. And I do that, and that's something I've naturally done. And maybe it's something I do because I know that I need it for me. And perhaps I'm just more conscious of that. I know I work better when I get recognized and acknowledged and praised for the work I do. And so it's something I just naturally give on to other people. So really be cognizant of how lifting the morale of the team can be achieved just by a simple thank you or giving people praise. Of course, as I mentioned earlier on, we always want to ensure that we can see an ROI on our investment for investing in the team. And that brings some accountability. So when I'm running workshops, one of the things we typically do at the beginning of a workshop is do some kind of assessment of the team at the beginning so that we can get a baseline of where we are. And then we do the same assessment at the end so that we can see the difference and the improvement in results. And I think that also gives some accountability. Team members need to be aware that if you're investing in them, that you are expecting a return, and we do expect them to be committed to that training and that development we're offering them. So I think this develops some level of accountability within the team, because we need to be able to see that we get that return in terms of time, energy, and resources that we're putting into them. Of course, recognize that people develop at different rates. So for some people, you might see that return quite quickly, and for other people, it might be slower to respond. And that's okay. It's just important that we continue to see progress, step by step, incremental change going on. Of course, there may be times when we need to stop the investment in a team member. A team player who's not prepared to grow, isn't willing to embrace new skills or attributes that we need within the team. And that is a case of sometimes we have to eliminate that loss. And I think that's one of the things about being a leader, is making those difficult decisions about, there are some times when we need to release team members because for whatever reason, they're not fitting in the team anymore. And remember, we live in a very volatile world where the dynamics are changing all the time. And the people in the past that I've needed to release from teams are people that often aren't able to adapt to all of the change going on. And they want to continue doing things the old way, where the old way is no longer viable. So just think about, sometimes we have to take that difficult decision to release people from the team, because as much money as we spend in investing in them, we're not going to get a return. I talked a little bit earlier on about those new opportunities for the team to stretch and do things out of their comfort zone. Give them new challenges. And one of the things that I really love about when clients invest and bring their team on an unbridled success day with the horses is the fact that for most people, this is a massive stretch outside of their comfort zone. But actually, the way I see the experiences that I curate, we are just creating an experience for people to lead into uncertainty. When people come up to the farm, they don't know what's going to happen, what's going to be occurring on the day with the horses. All they do know is that they don't need to ride the horses, but they're not sure about what's going to happen. It's all new. People have never done it before. And of course, when people do things that they haven't done before, it can bring up a degree of anxiety. But for me, this is just such a great metaphor of, we go to work every day, we're going to a similar type environment, and we think everything's going to be all right. But actually, the reality is every single day, in my experience, brings something new in business, because we are living in such a dynamic world where everything keeps changing, that actually often the day that we thought we were going to have at work isn't the day that we had. So coming to an experience with the horses, for me, just completely creates that opportunity for people to see themselves stepping outside of their comfort zone and doing something different. Because in fact, many people are doing that every single day at work, but they don't actually realize it because they're in a familiar environment. What we've just done is upped the ante and taken them to an unfamiliar environment with an unfamiliar experience. You really see people stretch. And what's always fascinating to me is, of course, some people have a high degree of anxiety. They haven't been around the horses before. They're not really sure what's going to happen. Some people don't like horses. I've got to say, in my decade of doing this work, I've never had one person who didn't want to, in the end, participate. We call the days challenge by choice. People don't need to participate if they don't. If they just want to stand and watch, that's absolutely fine. But even the people who have been the most nervous and apprehensive about the day, it's really funny that they're the people I can never get rid of at the end of the day. They want to keep staying. They got over some massive limiting beliefs and concerns that they had, and they've really stretched outside of their comfort zone. And to see again the look of surprise and joy on their face about what they've achieved is really incredible. And that's really rewarding for me and for them, and really shows them that how much potential they have that they hadn't even realized, and how much more that they could achieve if they really pushed themselves a little bit outside of their comfort zone. And finally, when we're investing in our team, we always want to give them the best possible chance to succeed, because of course that's going to guarantee a high return. So we really need to clear the obstacles that are going to prevent any team members not getting success. And this is something actually I also do on the days when companies come and work with the horses. If we're going to get them to lead a horse around an obstacle course, I do set it up for success. I put the horse right at the beginning of the obstacle course, facing the obstacles where they need to go, just so that they don't have to do anything additional. And one of the things I see in businesses is often not setting people up for success. That could be not briefing somebody properly on a project that they're going to do, so they don't understand the complexity and the dynamics that are going on there. It might be not giving people the right resources. We ask people to do something, but then don't give them resources to do it. These are all examples of not setting people up for success. When we're talking about investing in team members and their development, it's really important that, for example, if you're in the HR team and you're creating and developing and investing in a program for a team member, that their line manager, that team member's line manager, is fully vested in that training and gives that team member the time to get away, to do the training, the time to implement and follow up. Because all too often as well, I see that a pinch point that happens within organizations around training is that we send team members on training programs to develop them, but then don't give them the time to do the follow-up work that's needed, the time to implement. In some cases, I've even seen situations where I've been running 6-month programs and team members are too busy to come to one of the sessions. So it's really important that we set people up to succeed whenever we're doing something in business. Because we know that there's no such thing as failure. I reframe failure as a learning opportunity, and we want to create experiences where people can learn and not fail. But there's ways that we can do that that make it easier for people. So always think about, how do we set people up for success? Because I believe that investing in a team pretty much guarantees a high return for the effort. Because a team can do so much more than individuals. So my invitation to you today is to think about, how are you going to invest in your team? What can you do that will make a difference and shift the needle? And how can you ensure that you're going to get a really tangible ROI for that investment? I've shared with you some ways of doing that. As I said, I do curate experiences to help you develop team members, both individually and in groups, on one-off sessions with the horses or on 6 to 9 month leadership programs. And I'm always happy to have a conversation with you if that's something that you think might be of interest to you and your team members. So as we leave today, please go away and think about the value of investing in your team and why it's important, and importantly, how to do it. As I said, I've shared with you a number of different ways that you can invest in your team, thinking about who the people are and some of the ways that we can help elevate the team to the next level. Because when one team member rises, it brings everyone up. It brings the overall potential and opportunity for the team up. So as we go into next week, please just think about, how do we improve everyone within the team, invest in everyone to get the best results possible. So I hope you have an amazing week, and until next time, goodbye. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Impactful Teamwork Podcast. Please stay tuned for future episodes and do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating on your favorite platform. Recommendations are essential for attracting new listeners. Please follow us on social media at Julia Felton and at Business Horsepower. And if there are any topics you'd like us to cover on future episodes, please do let me know. Remember, you and your team are always making an impact. What impact will you make today?